Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Body Language. We are on episode 3, and if you've made it this far, or if this is your first time tuning in, I just want to say a huge thank you for joining me. And yeah, just so excited to get to speak together again today. If this is your first time tuning in, my name is Anya, and I created Body Language to be a space to talk about our experience in this world, confidence, how we present ourselves, identity, and just embracing who we are because life is crazy and we need a space to talk about it. Today, I wanted to talk about rejection, specifically going for what you want, people not believing in you, and how do you continue to choose yourself even when it gets hard. And I feel like the past, oh my gosh, maybe 6 years of my life, if not more, have just been so many moments, or should I say opportunities, to experience rejection. And I think the big thing about going to art school is it really did teach me that rejection is not inherently bad. It actually teaches you a lot and prepares you for a lot. That being said, it's not fun, and we're humans. Like, it's just not going to feel good. So I think when I tell people now about rejection, feeling rejected, feeling disappointed, going for things and not achieving the things that I want to achieve, some people, they actually have a reaction of confusion, which I want to say thank you for. It's flattering. I'll meet people who say, oh, but you started a brand. That's a huge achievement. Or you have a job in fashion in the field that you studied for. You went to fashion school. That's an achievement. You had some really exciting internships. That's an achievement. And all of those things, 100%, I feel so lucky for. And it reminds me to practice so many moments of gratitude. And in the times where I do experience rejection or I go for an opportunity and it doesn't work out, I try to remember all the things that did work out. That being said, everything that I've achieved up to this point has come with an insane amount of rejection behind it. And I want to tell you a little bit about that today because it has not been smooth sailing. And I actually think the rejection has been what has made me invent this path for myself and get more creative. So I want to share that with you. Let's start with fashion school. Right off the bat in fashion school, there was a big learning curve. I knew how to use a home sewing machine, but for those of you who don't know, when you go to school to get a fashion degree, you'll start to learn on industry standard machines. So it's a whole nother beast, basically. So definitely was hit hard at the start of like, oh wow, this is a lot and a lot of new information, very different from me being at home trying to learn from YouTube videos. But by the time sophomore year is going and we're really in our major related classes, I'm feeling in my element. And at the end of sophomore year, I get an internship at a big New York brand. So I moved to New York for the summer to do this summer internship. And it was a huge boost in confidence. It just opened up another world for me. I feel like it finally clicked to me and to family and friends that this isn't a kind of lucrative or risky career, but that this is a real job and people do work in fashion design as a career. And I had kind of broken through that, door into professional work. So after that summer, I come back to junior year I went to SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design. Come back to SCAD with just a lot of confidence from the hard work I put in that summer, the experience I accumulated, and I start a fashion sketching class with this one professor. It was advanced fashion sketching, where most of what we're doing is just designing collections very quickly. And I received a lot of praise in that class, which again was extremely flattering. And I felt really lucky to receive that praise, that the professor and others in the class resonated with my work. The praise felt so good because I had been working so hard. And finally, after years and years of wondering what my future would be like and wondering if what I had seen in myself was real and if it was good enough, I felt that others around me were acknowledging it and believing in me, and my dreams just felt a lot more tangible all of a sudden. So I feel like I was kind of on a high at that point. Had just come from that internship, that summer in New York, proved a lot to myself, and started to feel like I was really proving things to other people and starting to make a name for myself within my program and hopefully beyond my program into the real working world. Yeah, confidence went up. Everything felt possible. And then towards the end of that same year, actually, that was a lot happened that year, I started to get hit with a lot of rejection, and even more so at the start of senior year. So right before senior year, lucky enough, I was able to do another internship. And again, that was a great experience, prepared me more for working in the industry. I come back, and to give a little reference on it, with your BFA in a fashion design degree, you will finish with a thesis collection or a graduate collection. So it looks different for each school, but the same way another major might do a thesis research paper, we do a thesis research collection. So we do a ton of research and make prototypes, also called muslins, and then we have lots of critiques with the panel, with the jury, and move on to the final garments. And it is kind of essentially a competition at SCAD because not everyone makes it into the fashion show. So you're competing with each other to be chosen to be in this fashion show. And it's so much more than that, of course. Like, the show is not the end all be all. More than anything, you just want to create a product you're proud of, but everyone wants that acknowledgement and that praise of being in the show. So I come into senior year off of this second internship, and I just feel like there's a lot to prove. One, you're doing a collection that is going to encapsulate who you want to be seen as a designer up until this point. So it's the first time that we're really having a large body of physical work that shows our point of view and our talents. But also along the way, there's so much judgment. So of course, the big judgment at the end of getting into the show, periodically we have these, we would call it a jury at the end, and we'd also have these mentors come in and do critiques. And you just practice presenting again and again and receive feedback, and a lot of times hard criticism. Also, there was an opportunity to receive mentorship, and you had to apply, and then some industry professionals would come in and interview you and see if they wanted to mentor you through the year. And as well as that, there was these scholarships. So one was like Swarovski crystals, another was Solstice lace. And so you could also submit a portfolio and compete to win an endorsement of financial aid from them to put towards your collection. So there was a lot on our plate, just so many opportunities to put yourself out there and so many opportunities to be rejected. So I will tell you something vulnerable. I was rejected from every single one of those things. I did not get the mentorship. I did not get the Swarovski or Solstice scholarship. I did not get into the fashion show. And it was hard. It was hard being told no. I think the hardest part through that year was not only that, but the professor who once had really understood my work and I felt like I received a lot of praise from, there was a big change. And though I really felt like I was producing work at the same quality, same high quality, it just wasn't resonating with him for some reason. And I started to receive a lot of critique, but in a way where it was like whatever I would do would still be critiqued. So I would start to change my work to anticipate what I thought he wanted and what I thought would make me a quote unquote good designer, making my stuff more sculptural, more out there, more elaborate, more complex, and just starting to leave behind my own decision making and DNA as a designer and really catering towards, I wanted this professor to see again what he once saw in me, and I wanted the mentors to see something in me. I wanted the jury members at the end of the year to see something in me and pick me for the SCAD show. And so I felt like I really lost touch with what I wanted and what my vision was, and it just became about, let me anticipate what these people and professors want from me and just deliver that. I just wanted to be told yes so badly. And it was just a huge pivot to acceptance and leaving behind my own personal vision. I felt in that time really creatively lost, disconnected from myself as a designer. had so many nights wondering if I was bad, if I was, if I had lost something, if I wasn't a fresh enough perspective, if I didn't have that it factor that other people had, that the mentors were seeing, that the SCAD jury was seeing. So all of this led to a realization that I am so happy that I came to, because I feel so much more free now. And at a certain point, I just had to realize it does not matter if other people won't pick you. You truly have to pick you. And if you haven't listened to the previous episode with my friend Sarah Rushing as a guest, please definitely go listen to that, because we talk about the concept of being on your own team. And I think this really applies to that. But just, you have to vote in favor of yourself. If no one else casts that vote in favor of you, but you, that is enough. And it might feel really lonely in those moments when you're the only one raising your hand and saying, I believe in myself. But I think that is what sets the best in their field apart, whether it's creators or athletes or engineers, any field. I think it takes sort of that level of willful delusion almost to be like, everyone else might be voting against me, but I am still going to vote for myself. So at a certain point that year, it just kind of hit me. I was like, no matter what I do, this professor is not going to approve of it. This professor is not going to see my vision. My collection was also so centered on the female experience and female point of view, and my professor was a man, and most of the mentors and jury members who we were meeting with at SCAD were men. And so I just knew the odds were really stacked against me, that it was going to hit ears that it resonated with and that understood the message. And I just had to realize, like, they may not get it, but I get it. And the women who are important to me in my life say that it touched them very deeply. And that is what means something to me. You can't create a product that's going to please every audience, but when it hits the right audience, it creates something amazing. And when you start to make your work so broad and digestible that there's a little something for everyone to enjoy, you really lose the core consumer, or the person who really needs to receive it, to the heart. And it can be scary. Even now when I design clothes, I'm kind of deciding between two things of, do I really send it home and go for creative vision? And a lot of people might not like it. It might not be wearable for the everyday, but there are some people who are really going to appreciate it. Or do I go for more wearable, more understandable? And it's hard. It's really hard. There are times where I don't know what decision to make. But at the end of the day, it feels more creatively exciting and true to myself to say, you know what, those who understand what I'm trying to say will understand it. And I don't need to release parts of myself or sell that out to please all ears, all people who are watching and listening. So yeah, I just want to say, if you can, stop idolizing the opinion of those around you, because I really was idolizing the opinion of my professor and of everyone higher up than me at SCAD. And it made me feel lost. In this time, it's so important to go within yourself and remember why you're doing what you do. Put your own creative intuition on the pedestal. That is how you create genuine work, and work that comes from the heart, and it will land on the right audience when you do it that way. So it felt kind of amazing. Honestly, it was towards the end of senior year, and I just was like, screw it. I'm letting go of what this professor thinks. I'm letting go of what everyone else thinks. I've created something that makes sense to me and to the women that I'm trying to speak to, and something that I'm proud of. And instead of focusing on, observing the reactions of people who I thought it was important to please, I started observing the reactions of those who it really mattered to me to please. So obviously I wanted to like what I'm doing, but I looked at the women and important people in my life, and they were so excited about what I was creating. And I just knew, okay, this is the opinion that matters. This is the perspective that makes me feel alive and that I want to cater to. Another thing that just felt so good about letting go of what my professor thought, what others at SCAD thought, was just, it felt like an act of rebellion and an act in favor of myself. I felt so close to myself in that moment, and just extra empowered in my vision, knowing that even if no one else liked it, that I was backing it. I think especially as women, it feels so good to just go completely out of the rule book and do things our own way, because that's something that's traditionally celebrated in men. Oh, it's always men who are trailblazers in their field. Men are a lot more afforded the luxury to do something out there. And so it felt thrilling for me to be like, oh my gosh, like I am not going to listen anymore to opinions that I don't agree with on my work. I had spent that whole year just changing my work to be what others wanted, and it was yanking me in 100 different directions, confusing me, and as a result, not resulting in work that felt authentic to me. And when I just dialed back in to myself and was like, forget what everyone else says, follow my instinct, it felt so good, and honestly brought me more and more into a new sense of my identity in a broader way as well. Of, you know, you've heard me share from episode 1, and Sarah and I talked about it on episode 2, of just feeling really in this role of like the good girl, the rule follower, and to all of a sudden be like, actually, I can kind of own my space to rebel within the creative world, and with my brand and my designs and how I make clothing. I can rebel by saying, I love what I'm doing, even if you don't love what I'm doing. And I'm going to keep doing this, even if you tell me that it's the wrong way to go about it. So I really encourage you to do that for yourself, especially if you're someone who has followed the rules. And, you know, great to follow rules in other areas of life, but creativity is not one where you should have to do that. If anything, make up your own. The best work is with its own rules. I really think the best artists didn't do what they were told. They went against the grain. They caused controversy. They made new methods of doing things. I mean, think about, that's what inventions are. It's a new method. It's a way of solving a problem. And I think too, it's special to realize that so many of the artists we love, a lot of people actually didn't praise their work right off the bat. A lot of people thought that they weren't creating art in the ways that it should be created. Maybe it wasn't done in realism and someone's doing surrealist work, and that's going to get backlash at the start and not be seen as the form of art that people wanted to see back then. And now we love a Picasso, you know, we love a Dali. And it's just so interesting too to think about that in your own life, of whatever you create, whether it's a visual art or you're inventing something or it's scientific research, whatever it is. In that moment, people might not understand it. And who knows, in a month, a year, 5 years, that could be huge. It could be something that will change your life. So I finished school, I graduate from SCAD, and rejection does not end there. It is only beginning. For those of you who have graduated in the past few years, you know how bad the job market has been, and the job hunting experience was awful. I think especially the time I graduated, it was just a really hard time, especially in creative careers. A lot of companies don't have the budget to hire. So looking for a job in fashion was really tough, especially because I knew what I was looking for and what my skill set was best suited to do. And so there's already kind of a smaller collection of options. Once I got to New York, was applying to different grants and competitions to win money to start my brand, and got rejected from those, of course. And just feeling again and again, like, I believe in myself, but why are people not seeing it as good enough? What about my work is not standing out? What about it is not good enough? And again, just whenever I feel that way, having to turn inward and be like, your work, when it lands on the right eyes, it will be felt, and it will be felt in such an undeniable way. And you can't internalize it when one person doesn't like it. It, again, is so easy to be like, oh, this panel of judges that I submitted something to, I look up to them. I want them to like what I do. But at the end of the day, it's just like, 5 people out of, how many are we now? Almost 8 billion on this earth. I guarantee you there will be more people who will like your work than those few people who are determining what happens to the outcome of that one job you're applying to or that one scholarship you're applying to. I've also had a lot of moments where I worked really hard to put myself out there and it didn't go according to plan. Those of you who follow my brand Anya Gazes NYC on Instagram. I've got to do a shameless self-promo. But you may have seen on Instagram or TikTok, I did a custom look for Suki Waterhouse for her tour last year. I guess it was technically this year with Leve. I reached out to the stylist, we chatted, we did custom, and for those of you who don't know how that process works, the designer will usually cover the cost because a lot of the stylists and big artists who we love, they actually don't have the budget to buy these pieces. They loan from brands, or brands will create a custom look for them because for us, it's considered a privilege to be able to create for them. And don't get me wrong, it most definitely is. But it gets hard when you're a small business essentially paying out of pocket for something that might not get worn. Granted, I went into it knowing that the look might not get worn, but felt good about it just because the stylist and I worked really close together on this look, and I just wanted to, as much as possible, get it right so that it could be worn on the tour. And lo and behold, it ends up not getting worn on the tour, and I felt really discouraged afterwards, especially because I put money down and I put a lot of time down. And it's so easy for that same voice to come up for me again of like, why am I always rejected? Why am I, getting really close but not getting that opportunity? Because this is not the first time that I've had stylist polls fall through. I've had some exciting opportunities that unfortunately did not come to fruition in the past. And each time I think that negative voice in myself would come out of like, maybe there's something about you that just isn't good enough. Maybe there's something about your work that just doesn't resonate enough, isn't unique enough. But as much as you can, cast that out, because if you're still creating, if you still have ideas and there's an internal world for you that needs to be generated and put out into the physical world, that is enough. That is creativity. That is talent. And you deserve to express it. And who is someone to say you are valid or you are not valid from one creation? You know what I mean? So just know too, whether you experience rejection once or similar to my case, back to back to back, it does not change who you are. And so many of your favorite singers, designers, athletes, whoever have experienced rejection 100 times over. And it takes 100 times of putting yourself out there to receive that one yes. And I think that's what's really important to remember, is it really is, it's an odds game. You have to cast yourself out there 50 times, 50 stylists to get pulled once. And I've lived it. Like I really have lived that. But just know it is that tenacity and that constant vote in favor of yourself that keeps you going. And another way to vote in favor of yourself is when you experience rejection, you have to get back up. You really do, because it's an injustice to yourself to be silenced by one person's opinion. So really, to encapsulate this new way of thinking, the more rejection I received, the more I realized I am the only person who can truly back myself up and cast that vote in favor of myself time and time again, especially in an industry where you need to have thick skin and you need to be able to continue to stand behind your work. And the rejection I've experienced, I'm so grateful for it, because it made me realize that maybe I'm not meant to go within a certain grain, and I am meant to do things my own way. I wouldn't have started my brand, actually, if it weren't for the rejection, I don't think, because it's so much easier to feel comfortable in a space of that acknowledgement and that praise. And I think maybe I would have been content to just take things slowly, work at a brand, and just ride on that high of the praise. And I think feeling all that pressure and feeling that fire underneath me and that there's something to prove, that's really what keeps me going, and knowing that I have something to put out into the world and a vision to share. And even if I'm the only one believing in myself at that point, I'm still going to keep working. And I just want you to be able to do that for yourself, because whatever is in you right now, whatever's tugging at your soul that you want to take from a thought in your head to be something that exists, follow it and do it. It doesn't have to be for anyone. It can be private. It can be for yourself. But just create it, because the fact that you are thinking of it, it is worthy to take up space and to be out there. So if you're feeling continually like your work or your ideas are getting misunderstood or getting discounted, maybe you need to write your own rule book. maybe it's time for you to start that company you've wanted to start, or start your brand, be your own boss. I think when you find that the ideas you're having are not fitting into one place or not easily digestible by other people, I think it's your sign to go and follow that and do your own thing. That's really what I realized was like, okay, if I haven't found a place yet where my view fits, I'm going to create that place for my view to fit. I'm going to create this world. And so that's why I decided to launch my brand, Anya Gazes, is because I wanted a place where all my ideas are welcome, and that woman that I want to dress is welcome, and it is her space. And so all of you women listening to this, I really hope that you know that my brand is a place for you, and a place for you, however you express femininity, however you exist in this world. I just want you to feel you have a space to be known and understood through this podcast and also through my brand. So a recent thought that I had that I kind of came to this past weekend when I was comparing myself to other people, of course, as we all do. I'm 23, and I was looking at other people I know who are 23 or even younger, who it seems that they have just really found their place. They're in their career. Some people even, getting started with their future life. Maybe they're getting engaged, married, whatever, and settling down into a permanent spot. It's so easy to look at that and be like, oh, like, I'm so clueless in my journey compared to this person. But I also feel so beyond grateful for that, because your life really is a story, and it would not be exciting if you knew how it ended at 23. It wouldn't be exciting if all those questions you had when you were little about what you're going to do, who you're going to be, where you're going to live, if they're answered in your early 20s. I really think there's such a joy in knowing that you've come this far, and also you have such a long way to go, and that the you that you are now is going to be different than who you are in 6 months, 1 year, 5 years. And so as much as there's discomfort in rejection or in not knowing or in failure, there's so much beauty in it, because it is making your story a very rich one. And again, all of the people that we root for the most, we root for them because they've had a complex story where they have overcome something, where they have been rejected, where they have overcome trials. They've made it through hard times, and they have not only proven to others, but to themselves that they can do it. That is the most powerful testimony that we can have from people. And I've really been loving seeing artists like Charlie XCX, Sabrina Carpenter blow up for the reason that people who aren't familiar with their work might have felt that it was overnight success, when actually it's over a decade of work in the past. Zara Larsson is another example. So much discipline, so many times being told no, so many times having people define them in a certain way, or just being told it's not what people want. And then finally, that record comes out that is for a very specific audience and hits the right ears. And those who identify with it ride so hard for it. And that's how they got to where they are right now. And really, those are women as well who just are so within themselves and have found their niche. And instead of trying to appease everyone, have just stayed very true to their identity and their DNA. And I think we can all do that every day, and it makes everything we do that much more powerful and genuine and resonate with people. One thing I realized in college as well that was kind of a game changer for me is when you continue to do something without praise, without acknowledgement, when it's just you and the hard work, that's how you know you truly love it and are passionate about it. Because all of the times, even through senior year, all of that rejection, it would have been so easy for me to be like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. Design isn't for me. But the fact that I still wanted to keep going, that I was still creating, it just made me realize I love this. I live and breathe this. And there is no one, no rejection, no amount of failure that could ever take it away from me. Like, this is who I'm going to be until forever. I'm going to create and I'm going to design. And it just made me realize, like, okay, if I can love what I do that much in the hard times and the times of rejection, then how great will it be to love it in the times of praise? And so I've met people who are kind of running on that praise. It's really easy to keep going when you're being praised, when you're being affirmed, when you're winning the awards. It's so easy. But the people who are experiencing that, or who you might look at and be like, oh, they're they're getting everything and they're so joyful in how they're going about their work. I guarantee you those same people, if you were to take all that away, they might have a very different outlook on what they do, and they might not want to keep going. So just know that you're in a really beautiful place if you're experiencing rejection and you still love what you do and you're still passionate about it, because nothing in this life can ever separate you from it. But yeah, those who are running on praise will eventually burn out. It's essential that we all, we can be brought high, we can be brought low, and to be humble when you're praised, and then to be strong when you receive criticism. So it just keeps you from burning out to be able to withstand all of that. And it's so much easier to keep pushing when you're being affirmed. So I just want you to know all of the moments in life when you don't know what you're doing and wish it could be easier or have a more clear path or just have someone tell you what to do. Just know that you deserve a rich and complex story, not one that's straight to the point, because that would be boring. So all the times now, and this is speaking from such a personal place of waking up and starting each day being like, I don't know what I'm doing. I have this brand and I'm scared. I have these ambitions and I don't know how we're going to reach it, but we're going to try. And that's what makes our life story a beautiful one that's exciting to tell our children, tell future generations, one that resonates with people and is inspiring. So, if you've made it this far, this is the end of today's episode. I want to thank you so much for listening, because I know this one was not as funny and lighthearted as the guest episode was, which we still touched on some really real things, but guest episodes, I think we're going to have some more laughs in there, but the one-on-one episodes, we will get deep. And I just really appreciate you listening. I hope this brought you some peace. And I just want you to know, whatever you're thinking about achieving, creating, going after in your life, I hope that the fear of failure is not a part of your equation. Don't let yourself feel any shame for being turned down, for going for something and not getting it, because it is an act of strength to put yourself out there. And you deserve it. I hope that whatever is on your mind to create or do this week, that you go ahead and do it. Start at it. I'm rooting for you. And if you want to share with me anything you're creating, I would love to know. You can follow this podcast on Instagram at Bodylang Podcast. So I will see you not this following week, but the next, with a guest episode for a guest I'm really excited to bring on. As always, I love you so much. I appreciate you being here with me. And if there's any topics you want to hear about, please let me know. And until then, have a great week and get ready for a good time next episode.